I'm Jonathan, and this is Julie. And today we're going to talk about how to turn raw contextual data into actionable insights in your organization. It's less about dashboards and more about driving outcomes. And they say that the best is for last. And so this is the best session. But we also know that we are keeping you from said desserts, lounge, and band. So we'll get through this. And thank you all for being here. So everyone says they're data-driven in an organization, but really doctrinally, what does that mean? They say we're data-driven with decisions, we're data-driven with leadership, but contextually, being data-driven is less looking about the what is happening, but understanding why it's happening, and then what action can we take? Because that data needs to empower your leadership team to look at and ask the right questions to drive success into your business. And a common data structure and a common language really aligns your teams and breaks down those silos and helps you transform your business because you go into actionable insights and not really mess with where the data is coming from, where's this architecture, but commonality and then driving actual movement.
Many leaders today, they've been in their businesses a long time. They know what's going on and their gut instinct is often right. They have a good idea of which campaigns may be successful, which sales reps may be on target to meet their goal. But wouldn't it be nice to leverage data to back up those insights and not have to be lucky or relying on your gut instincts? I don't know about you, but I am just swimming in data. A lot of times I'm getting alerts that I'm at my storage limit. And this is not uncommon among many organizations. A lot of times this data is also messy and unstructured. It's coming in from ERP systems. It's coming in from trade show leads. It's coming in from every which way, or it may be hard to come into a system. And today we're going to talk about how to bring that data together. We've also got data silos within teams. They see one set of data and they're not seeing something else. We've also got, time that it now takes to bring all of that data together, clean it up, centralize it, and put it into some sort of actionable plan. And by the time you've got that brought in all together, maybe the opportunity has passed for you to start to take action and do something with that. So we're going to talk about how to leverage data prep to make cleaning up that data a lot easier and streamlined and to make that repeatable. We can talk about analytics and how that can be leveraged to tell the story and to give your teams insights and to make it a centralized place for them to have the common information that they need to make decisions and to drive revenue. And this is something that leaders can use so that your teams can grow across the businesses and have the information they need at their fingertips.
And the crux of this quote isn't necessarily that having a lot of data is going to lead to good decisions. I have a lot of data on my phone at my fingertips for possibly choosing a date night with my wife. I have plenty of options, events, and everything else, but all of that data doesn't necessarily mean I will make a good decision. It might be something she absolutely hates. So data is only as good as the context and the audience that you're trying to frame it to. This slide may look really simple, but this is doctrinally what being data-driven looks like and the journey that follows. Each step is just as important as the preceding step, and it all starts with the collection phase. This is where you're going to look at your CRMs, your ERPs, your marketing tools, your third-party applications. This is where you're getting all of that data. But volume doesn't necessarily equal value. You have to contextualize and understand where the data is that matters and rise it up and be able to analyze it, which goes into the preparation mode. A lot of the times, this is the most underestimated stage, and this is where you're going to have a lot of bottlenecks because to prepare that data and to pull in all that raw data, it's usually brought into IT teams, data scientists, or other avenues where you can't action the data or prepare it to yourself. This is where data prep is kind of a great tool because you are able to prepare that data, you're able to refine it, pull it together, and then move into the insight phase. This is where data starts to kind of tell a story and you're able to see trends. You're able to see what the root cause is or what issues might be in your organization or what successes that you're moving into, which goes into the analysis, which then you take all of your insight and then start to drill down the what if scenarios. What are we seeing? Is there anything that is kind of coming to a head that we need to take action on? Because the action step is where you're going to be transformative. And if you go through this entire data journey and it doesn't lead to insight, it doesn't lead to action, it doesn't lead to growth, then all of this is really for naught, because the purpose of the action is to give you and your teams the insight that they need to understand where they're at, where they're going, and how they're going to get there.
I'm the senior vice president of sales in my organization. My campaign data is a mess. It's all over the place. It should be centralized. I can't get data insights. My sales team and my sales managers can't coach the sales team because they're pencil whipping the close date. We need process changes. We need data to be scrubbed so that we can do something with our data. And with DataPrep, we can do all of that, and it can be repeatable. It can be automated without having to have a BI team or waiting for your IT team to take this data and translate it and do something with it. It has integrations to many, many different sources so that you can easily integrate and get your data, start to clean it, push it to the right pipeline. And it also has error detection and anomaly detection, so you can get an idea of what needs to happen and start to make those changes. Okay, getting back into this, we are looking at the data that's messy and unstructured. I'm the senior vice president of sales. We're taking a look at our information, and we've got regions that are all over the place. Our naming conventions need to be standardized. We have some process changes that we need to implement there. We've also got our campaigns, and as you can see across the left side of the page, the campaign names are, they're a lot, and actually what I'm looking at is that they should be also streamlined and centralized. Same thing for my lead sources. It's hard to make heads or tails of what's going on here. In terms of the deals I've got, my sales teams can't really be coached. We've got closing dates of January 2025. No one can do really much of anything with this information. So it's hard to get insights when your data is all over the place and kind of a mess. And we want to be able to streamline that and centralize it so that it can be much easier. So we're going to take a look at data prep now and how that can be leveraged to start to clean up your data. So within data prep, there are a few transforms that we're going to go through. When you have messy data, it may take multiple transforms in one cell. I don't know about you, but I've used this Excel a lot in my past, and I really love Excel, but data prep makes it a lot easier to do all of that in one place. And the great thing about this is that it also records your steps. So if you need to make these transformations repeatable and continue to do these over and over again, it records those so you can apply that to your data all the time and move that forward. So with this first transformation, as you can see with my last name column, I've got a whole big mess going on. I've got some with sample in the last name, which is obviously incorrect. And then I've got a lot that have both first and last name in this last name column. So with data prep, we're going to use the replace function to replace the word sample with nothing so that that can at least be cleaned up. So it can quickly transform that first change that we need to make. The next thing we're going to leverage is a tool that's built into DataPrep, which is the ability to just simply highlight the last name of these individuals, and DataPrep is smart and pulling that last name into the remainder of this column. So I can apply this transformation, and I'm much closer to having clean data. The next thing I want to do is grab the last name from the first few rows and pull that over into my new cleaned up last name. So I'm able to fill the empty cells with a formula field from the original last name column and bring those in. And then there's one more simple last transformation that we're going to make with this first example, and that's to remove the white space. So we're able to do that for the first couple rows that we pulled over. And now I've got very clean, nice data for just my last name all in one place. And again, this is recorded and can be repeated moving forward. The next transformation we're going to go through is cleaning up our regions. As you could see, the regions were all over the place. We've got 18 different regions, which is just insane when we should just have a handful instead. So with data prep, they also have another feature called cluster and merge. So this is going to be smart as well and automatically start to recognize some of the regions that should match and go together for the Southeast and for the Midwest. So it recognizes those. And then I can take over and rename the right region name per my organization's naming conventions and update that. So I have a couple more. I got Northeast and Northwest. We're going to do the majority here with Northwest and pull those into this. We've got a couple more transformations that we can apply, but what I like about this again is it makes it super simple to do this. There's kind of be a multi-step process, especially when your data is really messy, and that's very common. The next things that you see happening on the screen is me clicking on the histogram here and grabbing the last name and clicking on the edit pencil for the remainders and just simply typing over what the old ones were to what my naming conventions are in my organization. So it's really easy to make these changes and get my data cleaned up and aligned. And like we said before, all of these changes can be repeatable, and then a pipeline can be created to push back into your data sources, whether that's into analytics or back into your CRM or whatever. So the last transformation we're going to go through is leveraging AI. This is integrated to OpenAI for us to transform by example. So we'll go through this, and what I can do and what I think is really cool and easy is to simply type in the new lead source name, and AI is going to learn from the things that I'm typing and carry on this change and make a formula for me based on the changes that I'm making. So this one's my favorite. Save the best for last for y'all. So I think there's one more name here that I'll do. It'll transform it, and then it's going to start to generate a formula for us. Okay, so once I'm able to do that, it recognizes that, and then you see on the right that there's a formula here that it's created. Maybe I know that I missed one of my lead sources. I can click customize, and I'm able to then edit the formula and change it so it collects all of my lead sources and cleans those up and makes it easy for me to move this forward.
But the next part is once we've cleaned, refined, and kind of sterilized that data, now it goes into storytelling, because it's all about driving change and understanding what this data is trying to get at. It's going to provide context, it's going to provide action, and help you and your teams start to transform your own organization. Your data is a lot like a picture. It's telling 1,000 different stories, but instead of saying where you were, who you were with, or what you saw, it's giving you insight on customer responses, marketing, sales. It's telling a ton of different stories. And us as leaders have to figure out what stories we need to action upon and what data we actually have to implement and show our own organizations. And that's where effective storytelling comes in. When you think of an effective storyteller, you probably think of someone that wrote a really good novel, your favorite director, or the uncle that might drink a little too much at Thanksgiving that gets a little rowdy. But data and dashboards are just as an effective storyteller. They're supposed to give you an idea of what journey you're on and where you're going to end up. And that's supposed to build context and trust with your teams. Because if you're aligned under the same data and everyone is sharing under that same foundation, you're talking a common language, and it's going to give everyone in the team context on where they're at. It's going to provide a very strong narrative for your organization as well. It's going to give leaders insight on what's happening. It's going to give manager insights on how their teams are structured, how their sales are doing, what performance metrics they are, and it's going to help your teams also understand where they're at. And effective visuals are much like an effective visualization in a book or an effective scene in a movie. If you have effective visuals, it's going to tell the story. And if the visuals aren't effective and they're not giving context and they're not played to that audience, you're going to lose them. They're not going to have that trust, and they're really going to ask, what is this and what's really in it for me?
So with analytics, we're going to dive into this. This can create one source of truth for your entire organization with beautiful KPIs and dashboards so that everyone has the same playbook to use to make these decisions and have the insights. Some teams may need to have information pre-filtered for them so that they only see their commission data, which is definitely possible with analytics. And some teams may need to not have access to other information that's confidential. So all of that can be allowed within analytics and can give you this proactive and predictive analysis for what's going on in your organization. Just like we saw with DataPrep, analytics also integrates with AI, and this can help you with some auto analysis to get to those insights and decisions a little bit faster and how to get started. It helps with some narrative storytelling, and there's also some LLM integrations that will allow you to connect to external sources to be able to compare your team's data to publicly available data that's on the internet. All of this can give you decision intelligence so that you can make decisions faster and get to the right data as quickly as possible. So we're going to take a look at how AI can be used and Zia Insights can be used within analytics. We see this beautiful chart and it can start to give us an idea of what's going on. But if we dig a little bit deeper into Zia Analytics and Zia Insights, we can see, and it's really hard to see on the screen, but in December 2023, profits decreased by 54%. I don't know about you, but anytime I see profits decreasing, that's kind of alarming, and I want to know why. What are the drivers? If I click on the question mark icon, I can start to drill into that and get a better idea for what is driving that change. So with Zia Insights, I can start to see that my Bing ad performance was one of the main drivers of that, dropping 64%. So that's a little bit alarming. And then the other thing is this buy one, get one coupon was also one of the drivers. So these are two insights that I'm immediately able to see without clicking into the data and looking at underlying information and individual components. This gives me that immediate insight. I can then click on this option for possible reasons and get a little bit deeper into what might be happening. So we see that ad spend increased 20% most months, but in December it increased further, which changed the ratio of profitability. It also gives us some recommendations on what we can do differently moving forward. So if I'm a leader in my organization, having these immediate insights to give me some brief tidbits of where I can drive and drill in and find out more information or ask the questions to my team so that I know what's going on and make sure I'm confident if I'm presenting to the board in what message I'm going to be delivering.
The impactful visual stories are supposed to add clarity and not complexity. You're not supposed to create dashboards that utilize every color scheme that you have, every possible metric that teams are having, or just a plethora of information that really doesn't add context. They should drive that clarity so everyone on the affected team understands what's happening, why it matters, and how they play a role in this. It's also there to provide contextual intelligence based on those teams and what data you're presenting. CFOs really want to understand the bottom line and revenue. Field managers are going to worry about operations and cost. And CEOs really want to get to the punchline. What is in it and how is this going to drive success? And having analytics tell these stories is going to give context to those teams so they can understand how the data is working and where they're going with it, which makes your organization have faster and aligned decisions. The great thing about all this is this usually used to sit with the IT teams, the data scientists, but all of this can be self-prescribed. All of this can be done by members of the team, by leadership to understand how the metrics are working and to make quicker decisions that align to the common goal and where your organization is moving.
So in this next demonstration, we're going to look at how we can leverage Zia to get started in analytics. I know anytime I'm looking at getting started in a new platform or a new software, flattening the learning curve is really important because I want to get started as quickly as possible. So this example is going to take a look at one data set I have. I have this table with my deals in it, and I'm going to go ahead and use the Zia Auto Analyze feature so that I can start to get insights and then let someone else carry some of this legwork for me. So Zia Insights is going to start to develop some charts and dashboards for me, along with visualizations for what might look good and work for my organization. So I can take a look at these different components, look at what's working, and then save the dashboard for the one that I like best. So I'm going to choose the one on the bottom right. I like the styling. I like the information that it's presenting. and it's looking really good. I love the look of it. I love some of the components that it's pulling up, but I noticed that some of my data isn't quite what I want it to be. And I noticed that some of the styling, like the words on there, are a little bit hard to read. So I can customize that really easily and change that up, make it a little bit more readable. I'm going to change the font color over here to white instead of light blue or gray or whatever that is. And then I'm going to drill into this component. It's close to what I want to show, but it's not quite there. So we're looking at campaigns and deals across months. It's pulling in the closing date, which is great, but it also pulls in the campaign cost for the bubble size. I want that to be the amount of the deal. I'm really able to pull over the information I need from those fields and change it up, make it exactly what my team needs to know because I understand my data. And this is something that will be possible for them to use moving forward. So once I save this, I can then close it out and see the real-time change on my dashboard, which is really easy. So I've made a few additional changes to this, and I'm going to take a look at my data now that it's totally scrubbed and cleaned up. I'm going to put on my hat again as this leader of the organization. First things first, I can look at my regions and see that they're totally cleaned up and centralized. One step forward, I'm a hero in my organization. The next thing that we can look at is the campaign names. Like, doesn't this look beautiful to have fewer campaigns, but also more importantly, we know the ones that are driving revenue for the quarter are driving the most leads for the quarter. We can also see as the team works those leads and turns them into deals, that we've got deals that are coming from a pipeline builds campaign type, and they're going to hopefully close in October. My team can work on closing those deals and driving revenue. And then from a business perspective, I can take a look at the accounts that are driving the most revenue. Maybe I want to drive more revenue and diversify a little bit because UTags is holding too much of my business, but I can see all of this type of information right at a glance.
This is really aligning your teams and breaking down those data silos. It's not about are your teams working hard? It's about what data are they utilizing? Because if it's siloed, if it's unstructured, and if it's not talking, then no one really knows what's happening. If I were to look at one of the Northwestern campaigns and it was incorrect data and I was looking at 3 and I saw a total success, I might say, we'll drive this. But if I didn't have the whole picture, it might actually be a failure and we're putting money, time, and effort in something that is not going to help our bottom line. It's going to improve performance in your organization. When everyone's working with that contextualize and common truth, it's less about you versus me and this is my numbers, this is your numbers, but here are our numbers and how can we work and move forward in our organization to have successes, which builds team trust. If everyone is working from the same data, all of the data is cleansed and you're getting the reports that are meaningful, it's trust in the entire organization because it's less about they don't have the full picture. It's more about we have the picture and where are we going with that. I know we tote our horn a lot, but I'm going to put this McKinsey quote up there. It's a lot of words and it's probably hard to read, but the crux of this is organizations that are prioritizing this are going to leave their competitors behind. And it's not by percentages, it's by multipliers in customer revenue and acquisition and success and the things that make businesses matter. Because if you aren't prioritizing your data, if you're not driving these impactful visual stories and aligning your organization, you're going to be left behind. It's creating that centralized source of truth. Think about the enablement of your entire organization if they're all working from the same sheet of music. If all of the data is structured, if everything's being reported correctly, it's going to lead to a more cohesive organization, business unit, or business. It's going to provide real-time transparency and reporting. It's not with teams. You're not waiting hours or you're not waiting days or weeks. It's really hours or possible minutes to drill down the information that you need and make quick, actionable decisions so you don't lose momentum. And as I said, it's creating that common language. Everyone understands what the data is. Everyone understands what the foundation is, and they can move forward and move ahead.
Clean data is the foundation of confident decisions. Dashboards align teams and accelerate growth, and data storytelling turns insight into action. Thank you.